The Persian Empire was a wonderful kingdom full of beautiful places and things and important people. The Persians had taken over the world. They attacked Israel and took many of God's people as slaves to Persia. The king of Persia was a mighty ruler named Ahasuerus. To celebrate his power, he had a feast that lasted a whole week. People ate the best food, drank the most expensive wine, and had all the entertainment they wanted. In the middle of the crazy party, Ahasuerus asked his beautiful wife, Vashti, to come before the people. He wanted to show off her great beauty. So the king's servants were sent to Vashti to tell her that the king wanted her to come to the party. Queen Vashti did not want to be shown off at a drunken party, so she did something no one ever did. She told the king no. When the king heard of this, he was furious. How dare she say no to the king? This would set an example to all the wives in the kingdom to disrespect their husbands. He had to put a stop to this kind of behavior. Following the advice of his law experts, King Ahasuerus removed her crown, took away her title, and made her leave the kingdom. When the king's anger finally went away, he remembered Vashti and missed her. When his counselors saw his sadness, they came up with a plan. They told the king to send out men to gather all the young, beautiful women in the kingdom so he could choose his new queen. The king liked this plan, and soon news spread throughout the kingdom. Throughout the empire, beautiful young girls were taken away. After many days of beauty treatments, they were brought before the king. One such girl, Esther, lived with her uncle Mordecai. She was beautiful indeed, but she was also a Jew. Out of all the young girls the king met with, he decided that Esther was the most beautiful woman in all the land. He chose her to be his wife. Esther the Jew was now the queen of Persia. Esther didn't tell anyone that she was a Jew because there were some people in the land who hated her people. One of the king's most important officials was a man named Haman. He was an evil man who hated the Jews. One day, Haman told the king about a plan. Haman made it sound like he was protecting the kingdom from enemies, but really, the plan would get rid of all the Jews in the Persian Empire. Haman knew that once the king agreed to this plan, it could not be stopped. The king believed Haman, and he agreed to Haman's plan. Because Esther kept her Jewish identity a secret, Haman did not know that this plan would hurt her too. When Mordecai, Esther's uncle, heard about the horrible new law, he was deeply saddened. He and all the Jews across the land tore their clothes, placed ashes on their head, and cried. But God knew of all these things, and he helped Mordecai come up with a plan. Even though the law could not be changed, the queen of the empire was a Jew, and the king would never let his wife be killed. Mordecai then begged Esther to tell the king that she was a Jew. But Esther was afraid, as no one was allowed to go talk to the king without an invitation or they would be killed. Esther asked Mordecai to ask all the Jews to pray and fast on her behalf. Knowing this could cost her life, she put on her best clothes and went and stood in the inner court of the king's palace. When the king saw Esther, he was happy to see her, and he waved for her to come up to his throne. "What is it, Queen Esther? What do you need? I'll give you anything, even half my kingdom," the king said. Esther asked to have a meal with the king and his advisor Haman. She was going to find a way to tell the king about Haman's evil plan. Twice, Esther held a feast for the king and Haman. Finally, on the second night, she told the king that she was a Jew. She explained what the law Haman suggested would do to her and the Jewish people. When the king heard this, he was furious. He stormed out to the palace gardens. When he came back, he found Haman falling on the couch where Queen Esther was sitting. To the king, it looked like Haman was attacking the queen. The king's guards grabbed Haman and took him away. The king ordered that Haman be killed. Though this wicked man was dead, his evil plan was still set in motion. There was nothing the king could do to stop it. Once again, the queen risked her life and went before the king uninvited. She cried and begged him to help her people. The king then made a new law that gave all the Jews in the Persian Empire the right to defend themselves against this coming attack. When that day finally came, the Jews rose up against their enemies and took control of them. Even the palace officials and governors helped the Jews, and they won. The Jewish people celebrated God's victory and started a tradition of holding a festival, called Purim, every year. During the festival of Purim, the Jewish people recalled God's help and Esther's bravery. This festival stands as a reminder that God will always protect his people, even though there have been and will be many evil men who try to hurt them. God will always protect his people.